listening to Daniel W. Shrigley's Survival Talk Radio, the official survival talk radio of America's Survival Son. Come and learn survival.
Proficient Protection Agency is based out of Alameda, California. If you have security service needs, Proficient Protection Agency can provide armed and unarmed security services. They service Northern California Bay Area, and you can find them at www.ppasecurity.com. Are you a fan of survival? Do you like all things survival? Full spectrum survival, urban survival, wilderness survival, how to escape and evade, lost or stranded, doomsday prepper, all things survival. You can find on www.daniel-shrigley.com. Come visit my official survival website at www.daniel-shrigley.com and learn how to sustain, survive, and escape and achieve rescue or self-rescue. If you want to advertise your company on Survival Talk Radio, just send me an email to daniel@daniel-shrigley.com and we can make arrangements to advertise you or your business on Survival Talk Radio. Hi, you're listening to Survival Talk Radio with me, your host, Dan Shrigley. Come and learn survival. Well, everybody, hey, it's great to be back to do another episode. I really appreciate all the support I've been getting from you guys and all the emails, and just, it's been great. And I'm humbled by it. I'm very humbled by it, and I really do appreciate it so much. And I'm glad that some of you out there really do find great use in what we talk about on Survival Talk Radio. And so to continue with that, I want to talk about communication and signal, or signal and communication, whatever have you. But the importance of what that means and how to attain it. And so recently, I decided I would purchase some radios. And, in the Army, we use Singar's radios and, different radio products and stuff like that to communicate. And we use secure radio net traffic and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to get that technical. We don't have, access in the civilian sector too much to freak hop and all that stuff. But, unless you want to go fork out a lot of money. So, but I went out and I did some product review studies on what's really good that's out there. And I came across this radio called Cobra. Cobra makes radar detectors for cars so you don't get caught speeding, I guess. But they also make radio equipment. And I was not aware of that. So I started looking at their radio equipment, their two-way radios, and they have great reviews, good range. Now, with two-way radios, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter what the box says or the package says or what they claim. You're always going to have obstacles that will deplete your signal. So if you are on one mountaintop and your friend's on another mountaintop and you have a straight line distance to each other, of course you're going to be able to hear each other as long as you're not outside of what the radio range is stating. So with the Cobra RX 680 model, it claims it could reach out to like 36 or 38 miles linear distance. But that's assuming you're on a flat plane, probably elevated on a mountain, and they're also on a mountaintop. Okay, so there's nothing in between you but just the radio signal traveling. Just in case you didn't know it, but radio signals travel at the speed of light. All right, they travel very fast, or slightly beneath the speed of light, but very close. But if you're using radio, two-way radios, you don't have a repeater system like emergency services have repeaters. That means they have towers up on mountaintops. And so your radio will be programmed to a repeater, and that repeater will amplify your signal and send it to the next tower. So that way everybody hears your signal broadcast. Okay, that's a repeater. All right. And you can actually get onto a repeater service. You just have to find one and reach out to it and then have your radio programmed for that. But then you're going to have to buy a programmable radio. And these little two-way radios, I don't believe, are programmable in that aspect. I don't believe that they are. But if you go get a Motorola radio that you would use for a security company or basically kind of like a police radio, then yeah, you can get onto a repeater system, and you're going to pay a repeater service fee to use their repeater service on a dedicated channel network. You're going to pay a fee every month for that, but it's probably worth it if you own a security company and you have patrol services all over the place and running around, or you have like a tow service, or you have, people that work for you traveling around, and you prefer that they have radio communication with a dispatch center or something like that. And the great thing about having that as a company where you have your staff really using radio to communicate is you're keeping their cell phone out of their hand, and their cell phone, they tend to do it's a distraction. But their radio is work related, and it keeps them initiated into the work process, and they're not running around using their cell phone all the time, which could lead to distractions like social media, personal phone calls, and things like that. So putting a radio in their hand, using that, as long as you have range, like you are within range. But I want to talk more about the survival aspects of a two-way radio. So I went and got the Cobra RX 680 model, and it has the weather band channel on it. Very nice feature. And what you could use that for is if you were out in the wilderness and you can receive the weather channel where you're actually receiving weather communications through it, then you know that you are close to civilization. So that's a plus, okay? Because you're only going to receive that if you're close to a tower that's pushing that signal out, which means there's civilization nearby. Not exactly, you don't know where it is exactly maybe, but at least you know you were close to civilization. The other thing is this radio has an SOS light on it. It has a flashlight and SOS light, which I think is really amazing. So if you hold down the call button or the flashlight button, if you hold it down for like 3 seconds, it will send out a SOS pattern using Morse code of a distress signal. Or you can just use it as a flashlight and light up something for a brief moment. If you were out in the wilderness, obviously you'd want to focus on conserving your battery power. But they do have solar energy USB cable chargers, which this charges from a USB cable. So all you need to do is go get a solar energy kit, like a hiking kit, take it with you, and you can get that from a company called Goal Zero Solar. Goal Zero Solar product sponsored me, and gave me a bunch of really cool equipment to include flashlight, solar panels, battery packs, and just a whole bunch of cool stuff that I was able to use and recharge when I was out filming in the middle of nowhere. With the inability to recharge like my cameras and stuff like that, I could stay out there longer and film and just let the sun power my electronics for me. So you could do the same for this radio, because you can charge this radio in a cradle, or you can or like a cradle charging station you could plug in, or you could charge it through the USB cable port on the side of it. It does come with a belt clip. It is waterproof, splash proof, and dust proof. It's very solid construction, very nice construction. It does have privacy channels on it, so you can pick certain privacy channels and lock them. You can increase the range of this radio up and down. It has memory channels. It can store up to like 10 channels on it, and it's just got a lot of cool features on it. It can scan channels. So the important thing about scanning channels is if you were out alone and you had this radio with you, and you knew that search and rescue was looking for you because you did the right thing, communicated where you would be, where you were traveling from and to, how long you were going to be gone, and expected to return, and that if you didn't expect to return, that the person that's expecting you to return will notify the authorities if you don't return by a specific date or time stamp. And so say that date and time stamp has surpassed and something happened to you, that you know that they're going to have someone looking for you. They've reported you. So you could take your radio and put it in scan mode, all right? And it will hop through every channel looking for a signal. And the great thing about that is once it finds someone talking on a channel, it's going to stop on that channel for a brief moment, long enough for you to engage that channel, all right, and say, hey, can you hear me? I need help. I'm on top of the mountain, or I'm in the bottom of the valley, or wherever your location is, all right? And hopefully they'll be able to hear you, because if you can hear them, chances are they can hear you, okay? So, and then it's going to keep scanning the channels, and then you'll just want to memorize what channel it did stop at, okay? Or you could lock it to that channel. But search and rescue is going to be using two-way radios when they're out looking for you, so they can communicate amongst each other as they're looking for you, and organize their search. And that way they keep comms with everybody. And two-way radios are very inexpensive, and out in the wilderness at times more reliable than cell phones for a communication device, because sometimes out in the wilderness cellular signals are non-existent, okay? Depending on how high up or far in the mountain range that you are, there might not be cellular towers nearby. You may have no cellular signal, but at least you'll have radio communication. All right, so that's the great thing about having a radio that can scan channels, and this model does that. And a lot of them do offer that, all right, but it's a great function. So it does a lot of things. I would highly encourage you to research the Cobra RX 680 model. I know Cobra makes other radios. Check them out, see what you like. There's a lot of radio brands out there. Some came in on different opinion reviews that were a little better than this, and then some weren't better. Just those are it's very opinionated. Like, this is me sharing you an opinion of this radio. So far, I like this radio, but you have to remember that two-way radios are only as good as far as range and distance as long as they have a clear line of sight. There's no trees, foliage, buildings, mountains blocking that signal. It can only go so far, all right? But if you do have a clear line of sight, then you're good. Now, if you're in the downtown area, I tested this radio out with Monica, because I bought 4 of them, and I gave her one, and we tried it out, and I was able to talk to her for quite a distance, actually, all the way from the freeway all the way to the hospital, and where she works at the hospital, and that's a significant distance away. Okay, but also it can be the setting that you put your radio and the channel. So it depends on, like, certain channels will push further range out. Other channels were more for like privacy, encoding, encryption, and stuff like that, so people can't hack your signal unless they know explicitly what channel you're on. But it is what it is. It's better than nothing. It would be good to have this on you, especially if you're going out in a group. Go buy 4 or 5 of these radios. They're not that expensive. What's $200 for the peace of mind of at least you'll have 4 radios for $200? You know what I mean? And it'll be worth every penny of it. Plus, like, say you own a security company, all right, and you don't want to go out and go buy the very expensive police Motorola radios. But you have a site, and you have clients on the site, and maybe you have multiple guards on the site. You know, you can easily go buy a couple radios like this for $200, $300. For $300, you end up with 6 of these, and everybody will have communication with each other at the site, and it's a pretty affordable way of helping your business function. It's also great if you're in a vehicle convoy and you're, traveling back and forth, going somewhere on a trip or whatever, or to a campsite. You'll have great communication with each other in your group. It also has audio Vox, or Vox, which basically means it's touch-free, hands-free. It will pick up your voice. All you have to do is start talking. All right. And it does have chimes. You can set the chimes to go off. When you press the talk button, it'll let the person know that a signal's coming in, transmission is coming in, and then it has a Roger chime, letting them know that you've let off the talk button. Now they can talk. So you can turn those on and off. All right, they're just features. So every feature on the radio I've turned on. I want to try them out and then eliminate what I decide is just kind of a nuisance after a while. But it's a great asset to have a 2-way radio. Now, they do have sat radios, all right? So they are radios that use the satellite, okay? And you can talk from one coast to the other, but I was looking at those, and they're like $1,200. They're not cheap, okay? And they're probably well worth it if you're a trucker, all right? Or you travel a lot, all right? And you can be up in the mountains inspecting a power line, or and be miles away from people, and there's no cellular network there, but at least you'll have the SATCOM radio. They have sat phones and sat radios, so you really have to investigate what it is you want, but that's a great communication device. They also have personal locator devices that send out a 10-digit grid. It sends out a beacon to your location, to emergency services, and you would press a panic button, basically, and it would let them know that, hey, they have someone out in distress. They use this device, and it sends out a signal, probably to a command center that made the device. They pick up the signal, and then they relay your position and information to law enforcement, search and rescue, or rescue services, first responder services, whatever. That's a great thing if you're going to be out a lot by yourself, to invest in. So you should have all these things with you. They're, what's called planning ahead. There's convenience with having them, and then there's common sense with having these, and planning ahead and being prepared. Signal and communicating with fire. So say you don't have a radio, all right? How do you signal and communicate with fire? Well, first off, you want to contrast your environment with the smoke that you generate from your fire. So if you're in the snow, you're not going to want to put up white smoke. You're going to want to put up dark smoke. So, you're going to want to put up, burn foliage that's green, or you're going to want to burn foliage that produces a darker smoke. So if you're putting up dry, dead material, it's going to produce a lot of white smoke. So if you're in a green area that's just, very green, you're going to want to contrast that green environment with white smoke. So you're going to put a lot of dry material on it. If you are in an area that's white, like snow, okay, you're going to want to produce a dark smoke, all right? Whatever your environment is, you want to contrast it. So you're going to want to create a smoke. Signal and communicating with fire for actual light source, that's really only going to work for you if it's a bonfire, but you're going to want to put that in a very safe location. You don't want to start a wildfire, all right? It will definitely work for you more if it's not a bright sunny day, okay? People aren't really going to see the flame of your fire unless it's dark outside and on top of a mountaintop, right? So you got to think smart. But a signal fire with a lot of smoke gets people's attention, because they identify smoke like, oh wow, that's quite a lot of smoke. That's more than just a campfire smoke, That's like a concern. We should probably check that out. We need a forest fire up there. And then someone goes up there to check it out and sees, oh, this guy's got a SOS emergency bonfire, but in a safe location away from, things that can combust. All right. And then definitely you're going to want to take the time to put that fire out if you ever had to light it. But, common sense. We don't want to start wildfires. But there's other ways of communicating. There's a signal mirror, flashing in the eyes. You take a mirror, you use two fingers like a fork out in front of you, and you find the reflection of the sun in the mirror, and you reflect it down on the back of your hand, and then you walk it back up between the two fingers spread apart. Okay, all right, and then that's your aiming device. Then you find an aircraft that's flying, and then you put the aircraft in between the two fingers, and then you bring the light source up, and you just flash it up and down, up and down, up and down, and they're going to see that flashing, and they're going to know that you're aiming it at them, because that's not something that really happens naturally in nature. And hopefully they're not too busy to come and investigate. You know what I mean? So and that would be signaling and communicating using a signal mirror. All right. Or any really super shiny surface, all right? As long as you can get the sun to reflect on it, like a mirror, all right? It can be chrome or whatever, all right? It could even be a chunk of ice if you polish the ice up, all right? But a mirror would be obviously ideal. Loud noises, all right? Banging on metal, bam, bam, bam. Bam, bam, bam. Just trying to get someone's attention. Bam, bam, bam. All right. If you could bang on like a tin sheet or some thin piece of metal that reverberates, that would be good. Okay. Like the sound of a saw blade. All right. Hitting it with a stick. Bing, bing, bing. And you'll hear it going whoop, 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 whoop. All right. That's going to catch someone's attention. Or a steel drum, or like a 55-gallon oil drum, steel drum, or whatever. But banging on metal is a good way. It's a little harder to find wood that's acoustic, but there is wood out there. So you're going to want to, tap on wood, kind of like a woodpecker does. All right. But you're going to want to find a wood, like tree that is very acoustic sounding, and then hit it really hard and with a club, all right, and just smack away at it to make a tapping noise. And you're going to want to go pound, 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 taps in threes, all right, pound, 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 all right, and draw attention to yourself. All of that's about drawing attention to yourself so you can be found, all right. And those are some basic principles to signal and communication when you are lost and stranded in the wilderness. My name is Dan Shrigley. I'm the host of Survival Talk Radio. I'm the creator of Survival Trek Escape film project. And if you want to support me and my Patreon, please go to Patreon and look up Survival Talk Radio or type my name in, either way, and become one of our Patreons. Support the radio show and support our future film projects. I really appreciate all of you, and I hope that you gain something from every time I put an episode out. Thank you. Hi, you're listening to Survival Talk Radio with me, your host, Dan Shrigley. Come and learn survival.
You're listening to Daniel W. Shrigley's Survival Talk Radio, the official survival talk radio of America's Survival Son. Come and learn survival.
Proficient Protection Agency is based out of Alameda, California. If you have security service needs, Proficient Protection Agency can provide armed and unarmed security services. They service Northern California Bay Area, and you can find them at www.ppasecurity.com. If you want to advertise your company on Survival Talk Radio, just send me an email to daniel@daniel-shrigley.com, and we can make arrangements to advertise you or your business on Survival Talk Radio.